Good morning, everybody. I just wanted to do a quick video update. It had been a little while. It's about COVID, but unfortunately, there's not a lot of new or exciting news regarding COVID, other than as we kind of expected, cases are up a little bit. We're seeing an uptick in those cases after some of the restrictions were lifted with public businesses opening and more people gathering. So it has shown in the hospital census there are more patients in the hospitals with COVID, but not exactly sure how much of that is from the opening back up of certain services and areas in the public versus more testing and a combination of both of those things. So it's hard to put all that together to know exactly which is more responsible, but either way, more cases. And really what that means is we just need to keep doing what we're doing. We need to be diligent and be safe and take care of ourselves and do social distancing and wear our masks and do the best we can to take care of ourselves. None of that has changed. But what has changed, I think, as I've noticed over the last few days, is that the level of anxiety seems to have increased. And I've noticed that in myself, and I've noticed that in people I've talked to and friends and family members. I've seen that some in coworkers. And I wanted to talk a little bit about that. So all of the things going on right now, there's a lot of world events. There's COVID, there's political issues. There's just a lot of things that are happening, a lot of things if you turn on the news. And those things can be anxiety provoking. And I wanted to break that down a little bit. When we look at anxiety, really the definition of anxiety is excessive fear or worry. From a medical standpoint, what happens is there are neurotransmitters in the brain that go a little bit haywire, for lack of a better term. And when you think about what actually happens with anxiety is your brain gets pulled in multiple directions, and that's certainly happening right now. There's a lot to think about, a lot to focus on, a lot of things going on. You may have a lot of things personally going on, and all of those events occupy space in our brain. They occupy those neurons or the cells in our brain. They use up energy because those neurons are firing. And what happens is that leads us to be more distracted at what we do. It can lead us to be more irritable. And if you look at it like a computer or a cell phone, if you have too many apps open at once or too many programs open at once, the computer doesn't work as well, or your phone doesn't work as well. And our brains are the same way. When you have information and worry and apprehension occupying spaces in our brains, our brain isn't able to focus as well. And that causes us then to worry more about things that we may not be able to change. So when you think about that and you break it down, we've got world events that we may not be able to change ourselves, but it still leads to a lot of worry. But what we can change are things in our own everyday lives, the daily things that we can actually do ourselves, that we have control over, which are doing your work, focusing on tasks, focusing on family, focusing on coworkers and your interactions with people in general, interactions with everybody. When you look at symptoms of anxiety, it's, like I said, excess worrying, tension, a lot of times tension in the neck, jaw, shoulders, temple. You can a lot of times just feel that muscular tightness. That can cause headaches. It can cause decreased sleep. It can cause fatigue. It can cause restlessness at the same time and irritability. And so if you're feeling some of those things right now, it certainly is normal, because I think a lot of people are, myself included. And like I said, when you have those symptoms and you don't feel well, which then occupies more space in the brain and opens more apps in your brain to where you have less bandwidth to be able to process things that we need to be able to process to get through our days. And I've just been seeing more of that, I think, more of that in myself, more of that in others. And I think awareness of those types of feelings, those types of symptoms are the first thing that we can do to help ourselves when it comes to those. So what can you do to help with those symptoms, with those feelings of anxiety? One, again, really try and focus on things that you can change, things that you're doing every day that you do have control over. Unfortunately, none of us have control over the COVID pandemic. It's out there, and no one person or one thing is going to fix that or end that any sooner than what it's going to do. We really are at the mercy of that. So spending a lot of time with fear or worry over what's going to happen isn't very productive, but what you can focus on is what you're doing every day. And again, nothing's changed there. We're still diligent, we're still safe, we still use our PPE, we still do social distancing, and that is what we need to keep doing. In addition to that, we need to take care of ourselves, and I just wanted to take a second and talk about that if you haven't been thinking about that for a while. I've said it before, but now it really is more important than ever to make sure that you're getting adequate rest, getting adequate sleep, getting adequate relaxation time. That looks differently for different people. Personally, I do meditation. I use an app on my phone called Headspace, and there are multiple apps out there to help with meditation. And what meditation does is help you focus on one area of your brain to help try and not necessarily block out other thoughts, but calm down some of those other thoughts and worries and fears so that you are aware of them, but you're not quite so focused on those things that you cannot change. Prayer can do that. Exercise can do that. Exercise is great at relieving stress and really relieving anxiety. It gives you something to focus on, and then physically it's a good outlet, helps relieve tension and relieve stress, and it's good for us anyway. So exercise is good. Make sure you're eating right. I've talked about that before, trying to limit caffeine and alcohol. Those things, while might seem like they help with stress and help with the fatigue and help with the symptoms, they don't physiologically help. You're going to feel worse afterwards. So it's good to try and limit, not necessarily eliminate those things. If you need help with those things, certainly reach out. If you feel like your anxiety level, if your stress level is getting to the point where it's affecting your job or your interactions with coworkers, reach out to your team leaders, to me, to Dr. Smith. Reach out to anybody that might be able to help you process through that. And just remember that even though we're still physically distanced, and we need to be, we're still one team, and we're still not socially distanced with ourselves. We still need to interact with one another, treat each other kindly and with respect. And just remember what our daily mission is, to help not only patients, but help each other, to help support each other as a team. So everybody have a great day. If you have questions, reach out, and I will see you later. Thanks.